So here's a fun question to kick things off. Do you think The Mandalorian and Grogu's gonna have an opening crawl? Are they treating this like a saga movie? Or are they gonna take the skeleton crew / solo approach, just a little bit of opening text? Or could it be like Rogue One, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then they dive straight into it? Or could it be an Ahsoka situation? 3 years ago, Kathleen Kennedy said they're gonna bring the crawl back, but at the time, The Mandalorian and Grogu wasn't even imagined yet. But let me know in the comments if you want to see an opening crawl. But let's get on to today's video. It is I coming at you once again, your friend and your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today, I hope you're ready to talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu because the movie is just around the corner. And in this video, we have some pretty big updates and some hints as to what we can expect. Jon Favreau has some new comments, as does Ludwig Göransson. But let me set the scene. So, I don't know if you remember this, but pretty much ever since the movie was first announced, one of my biggest concerns was the way they were going to treat Grogu. Kathleen Kennedy recently said, Grogu's not going to talk in the film. And following season 3, and I suppose what fans consider a diversion from the original plot of the show, I was concerned Grogu was just going to be a glorified MacGuffin, just a memeable moment character with a huge badge across his chest, and while they call him a Mandalorian apprentice, I was worried they weren't going to do much in terms of character development. But once the second trailer for the movie came out, a lot of those initial concerns were eased. Grogu is going to be separated from Mando for quite a bit of the film, and he's going to undergo a seldom, treacherous journey. An arc which in many ways mirrors that of Yoda. We see Grogu in a mystical forest. He's got a walking stick, he meditates, and he encounters a creature who might act as some kind of Force mentor. But a question which has come up time and again is, where is this forest? The most obvious answer, based on what we know of the plot, is this is on Nal Hutta. But now Star Wars fans are questioning this, thanks to a new comment from composer Ludwig Göransson, who says, quote, "One of my favourite parts of the movie is when Grogu goes to a specific place. You get to spend time with him, and you get to know him." And this makes fans wonder, what if it's not Nal Hutta? What if this is in a separate part of the movie? Away from Din, away from the Anzellans, Grogu ends up somewhere else. One of the new planets revealed a couple of days ago is Sequoia, so it could be there, but Ludwig seems to imply the place we're going to is somewhere we might already know. And my brain went straight to a theory I put forward 6 years ago. What if Grogu is going to Dagobah? And what if he's about to have a Cave of Evil moment? We know Dave Filoni was inspired by The Empire Strikes Back, and so what if these Yoda parallels are more deliberate and more important than we know? What if Yoda's Force Ghost appears to him? In the same way that Obi-Wan's Force Ghost in the recent canon comics prodded Yoda to go into the dark side cave to face his past, what if there's a similar situation with Grogu? What if when Ludwig says we get to know him, he means we're about to see the rest of Grogu's Order 66 flashback, the thing that terrifies Grogu the most? As this creature asks him, "Are you scared?" Well, you should be. I wonder if a crucial aspect of Grogu's development in this film is overcoming his past, and in the process, as an audience, we find out what really happened and why his mind went dark, how he ends up on Arvala 7. When Yoda got to Dagobah, he was full of pain and regret. He was haunted by those he'd lost, those he felt he wronged. He felt responsible for the deaths of so many Jedi, but more than anything, for the rise of the Empire, for not being strong enough to prevent Anakin turning to the dark side and preventing the rise of Palpatine. Yoda used that time to reflect. And while Grogu hasn't wronged anyone per se, he was also affected by Order 66. He watched so many of his fellow younglings, Padawans, Knights and Masters, fall at the hands of clone troopers, under the command of Darth Sidious. And here's the important distinction. I don't think it matters if it's literally Dagobah or not. It's what that kind of environment represents. It's the importance of Grogu spending time on his own, confronting his demons, and learning to become independent. In a really strange way, the movie is following through on the original promise of what should have come after Mando Season 2. Luke's not involved this time, but I'm talking about Grogu being separated from Din. One of the biggest criticisms is they were reunited too soon, and so in many regards, the movie is trying to give a second life to the concept of the child spending time away from his adoptive dad, which I think is going to do wonders for both characters. Because here's the thing, as Ahsoka warned, and even as Yoda said of Anakin, fear is the path to the dark side, and the kind of attachment and reliance Grogu has to Mando is a scary prospect for when Din eventually dies. Remember what Luke said, it will take you many years to master the ways of the Force, and you may never see the Mandalorian again, because Grogu A short time for you is a lifetime for someone else. The Grogu species ages much slower, so inevitably, unless something horrible happens to Grogu, which I don't think they're gonna do, Din will die first. And I think it stands to reason that Grogu's handling of those emotions and that situation is gonna determine his fate. And Jon Favreau a few weeks ago kind of alluded to this, because while he's now a Mandalorian apprentice, he's very different to his other Mando peers. We can't ignore the fact he's Force sensitive and has a background in Jedi training. Even if he rejected Luke's academy, said no to Yoda's lightsaber, and the opportunity to come back to that kind of life, the Force tradition is still ingrained in him. He's not rejected using the Force, he very much still does. He uses Force choke, Force pull, even if it's just to grab a frog or a snack. He destroys a mouse droid, whatever the situation, he still utilizes the Force. And that very much separates him from other Mandalorian apprentices. And that's one of the reasons I'm super encouraged by the trailers and what Ludwig is teasing, that the movie is not shying away from Grogu's growth and development from the standpoint of the Force. I know people are excited by the Mando aspect of him, but to me, potential parallels to Yoda, maybe being tempted by the dark side, those aspects are far more interesting. And as Ludwig says, Grogu has to spend some time on his own. He needs those moments of introspection, and I'm super curious to find out what he's going to see in those meditations, if there's a vergence in the Force on this planet, if it has its own cave of evil, and how this journey is going to transform and perhaps even change the character. Because with Din being a ranger of the New Republic going on these missions, when does Grogu really have time to sit down and develop those parts of him? We don't know much about the Yoda species, but it seems like they have a specific affinity for deeper Force connections. Yoda had it, Yaddle had it, and maybe Grogu has it. So some really encouraging words from Ludwig, and I'm really excited for the music that accompanies this scene. It was the composer's favourite. He's been attached to Mando since day one. That incredible thumping iconic theme, very kind of western, and the instantly recognisable bass recorder. And I have to say, with some of Ludwig's non-Star Wars soundtracks, he's been on fire lately. From Ludwig Göransson, we move on to Jon Favreau, who in speaking to Empire magazine, promises greater action sequences than what the trailers have shown us. A lot of the more fun aspects of the film are being kept under wraps. There are more surprises in store, notably the space battles and chase sequences, the actual Star Wars of the Star Wars film. Jon was asked the question in the context of the Ice Planet heist, if the AT-AT sequence is the biggest of the movie, and he responded no, there's other fun stuff. And considering there have been so many, I guess, tepid leaks for the movie, hearing this is very exciting. On the other end though, I would caution away from radical speculation. I've seen some people say we might see Yoda's homeworld, or we might see Luke or Leia. I very much doubt it. I don't expect anything that grandiose and on that scale. If it happens, that's great. But I think he's talking about the visuals, the action, something which Pedro Pascal also spoke about. Well, that said, my dear friends, what do you think of today's latest Mandalorian and Grogu reveals? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Do you like the parallels between Yoda and Grogu? And how do you think they're going to feed into the film? And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Check me out on socials. And may the Force be with you, always.